You're listening to the Chiropractic Connection, a podcast by chiropractors for chiropractors. This month, the podcast is recognizing Nutritional Awareness Month. Our lineup this month consists of the following:
The Wellness segment by Dr. Patience Canty,
GCA Member Spotlight, Philosophy in Action from GCA member Dr. Eric Plasker, and Partner, the 100-Year Lifestyle. Nutrition from Dr. Kelly Baxter. And this month's special guest, GCA member and past president Dr. Ed Cordovado. So sit back, relax, and let's get connected.
What better way to make every day your day than by learning how to treat yourself? Here is today's wellness tips.
Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Patience Canty. Thank you for joining us here on the Georgia Chiropractic Association podcast. This segment revisits the nutrition discussion from last month, but in greater detail. Now you know the importance of having nutrition discussions, but where do you start? The first place is recognizing true diets are not trendy. Let's say it again. We have to make sure that our patients know that true diets are not trending. Diets are really a log, journal, or a sharing of what we are consuming on a daily basis. And let's dig a little bit deeper. Really, we need to ascertain what is the true goal that our patients are accomplishing with their diets. Is it for physical wellness? Are they trying to lose weight, gain weight, decrease inflammation in their bodies? Or does it have a more mental wellness focus? Are they trying to repair their relationship with food? Perhaps they grew up in a family that told them they needed to be a part of the Clean Plate Club. And now that has led to years and years of overconsumption. Or are they eating to mask depression? Are they eating to cover up past traumas? These are all things that we need to consider when discussing nutrition with our patients, because that will help us ascertain in what direction we need to go to next. In what form of resources do we need to provide to them to help them along this journey? Another way to have our patients discuss nutrition is to create a workshop surrounding it. This is a great way to get several practice members in one place at one time. You may even have the expertise of a practice member who has a degree in nutrition or dietetics. You may be able to tap into this extra resource for the betterment of your patients. Another way for us to bring in this nutrition discussion is to set aside extra time in your schedule for individual conversations. This is not only going to help certain patients who need that extra time feel heard, but it will give you enough time to address their concerns. The third option is actually to have a nutrition-based community in your practice. Maybe these individuals meet on the first Saturday of the month and discuss nutrition topics. Or maybe they're actually meeting on a Wednesday night to head to the local Kroger or Publix or even Walmart to discuss ingredients in foods, how to shop the outside aisles, you name it. So you really can get creative when creating a community within the practice. Another way to discuss nutrition that is really dear to my heart is the advocacy piece. We really have to empower our patients to look at outside resources, to look at the resources we're providing them, to research them, explore them, and truly understand what they're consuming. That way, when they go into conversations with their other care providers, they're not just receiving information, they're actually contributing to the conversation. Now, I want us to continue this conversation. Please leave us a comment on the ways that you are deciding to introduce nutrition into your daily life and into your practice conversations. Again, thank you so much for joining us here on the Georgia Chiropractic Podcast. and we will talk to you all soon.
Who doesn't like a moment to shine in the spotlight? GCA is always ready to give our members a shout out. Who will it be today?
This month's Member Spotlight is all about Dr. Paul Goldberg. Many of you are familiar with him and have seen him at some of GCA's conferences as a seminar speaker and even in your magazine, The Georgia Chiropractor. Dr. Goldberg's clinic focuses on chronic disease reversal, and he has produced much evidence that speaks to his work with his patients. In a previous episode, Dr. Goldberg presents his story on how chiropractic has changed his life from the reversal of a chronic disease. He has success stories of patients with thyroid problem, chronic headaches, diabetic conditions, skin conditions, and so much more. Thank you, Dr. Goldberg, for all you do for GCA, your community, and for the chiropractic research.
Have you ever wondered what makes chiropractic? We don't always have the answers, but it never hurts to imagine.
Hey, Georgia chiropractors, Dr. Eric Plasper here with this new philosophy in action. Looking forward to seeing everybody at the fall convention coming up in October. It's going to be great. For today, really important topic, we're going to talk about nutrition, which has become more and more important today with all of the destruction of the soil and destruction of the diet and the quality of the foods that people are eating, even organic food. A lot of it is not even organic anymore. And so it affects people's health, it affects people's nervous systems. And so we've talked about in previous philosophy and actions, we've talked about in our 100-year lifestyle world anyway, we talked about neurology, nutrition, endurance, strength, and structure, that those are the principles of 100-year lifestyle fitness, being healthy, not just for today, but for 80, 90, 100 years and beyond. All 5 of those components are really important. And as far as nutrition goes, there are 3 aspects of nutrition that we address in our world, in our practice, that I think will make a difference for your patients. It'll definitely make a difference for your practice. It can increase revenue for your practice, but most importantly, it's really about people responding, getting great results, and staying healthy for the long haul with you as their leader. And so there's 3 things in this short call that I'm going to cover. We'll cover more at the convention, but the 3 things that I want to cover are cleansing, superfoods, and supplementation. So let's talk about cleansing first. Obviously, with all the toxins in the environment and people eating bad foods that pack on the pounds and make absorption of nutrients really difficult for the body, it's important to cleanse. We tell people all the time, when you go to lose weight and you diet, you lose weight on the outside. When you cleanse, you lose weight from the inside out, which is all that gook that is in your intestines that's blocking, causing inflammation and causing all kinds of health problems. So having a good cleansing program can make a massive difference for your patients and also can make a big difference for your practice. Next is superfoods. Superfoods are hard to come by. There are lots of products out there. There are some that we're affiliated with that we really like. Strive Life superfoods that are really, really good quality nutrition that people can take morning, afternoon, evening. It's a full day program. And so with that, Strive Life or any superfood products can be a great revenue stream for your practice, recurring revenue stream for your practice. And again, most importantly, provide your people with the quality nutrition they need to supplement their diets from a superfood perspective, which is really different than just targeted supplementation, which is the next piece, which is targeted supplementation. So if you're doing that inside your practice, you are probably making a big difference for a lot of people. People want to take things. They know they need to take supplements. They know they need to get superfoods in their diet, but they don't know who to trust. So for you as their healthcare leader, for you as their chiropractor, for you to be able to make those resources available to them, makes it a one-stop shop. Like I said, it's great for them, it's great for your practice, and it positions you more and more as the primary number one choice for healthcare for people that are looking for this new leadership for themselves and their family, now that the status quo is constantly daily shooting themselves in the foot with deception and lies and misinformation and real disinformation. And it's our time. We are now essential. We have become essential. I want to thank GCA for putting out that article, making it available. The article we wrote in Masters of Health magazine that is called The Chiropractic Journey from Persecuted to Essential. If you're not familiar with that, is an amazing story that needs to be told. We need to get that message out there. You can contact GCA or you can contact me, info@100yearlifestyle.com, or visit us at 100yearchiropractors.com. And again, we're proud to be sponsors of the convention coming up, silver sponsors, and we look forward to seeing everybody in October. Have a great rest of this podcast, everybody, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Healthy mind, healthy body, healthy soul. Here is today's nutritional experts giving you the latest tips and tricks to keep you healthy.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Kelly Baxter, and thanks for joining me on today's podcast with the Georgia Chiropractic Association. Today, I'm going to be talking about different types of diets. There's so many diets out there, it's crazy, and it's hard to keep track of. Diets basically have some kind of restriction. There's a calorie restriction, a time restriction, or a food group restriction usually. And like I said, there's just so many, it's hard to keep track. There's Atkins, Zone, Raw Food, Mediterranean, Ornish, South Beach, gluten-free. There's one I hadn't heard of, the Pagan diet. It's paleo and vegan. There's diets with weight loss pills and weight loss drugs, many of which have been taken off the market because they caused problems with people's heart, and some of those are back on the market. Now really popular is the diabetes medications, Wegovy, semaglutide. A lot of clinics are using those. I have a lot of patients coming into my office doing those types of diets. I don't feel like they're good because basically what happens is the patients lose about 2 to 3 pounds a week, which is what you would lose if you just did a calorie restriction or a time restriction or added exercise anyhow. But the reason these are popular is that the patient is not hungry on them. They're basically giving the patient diabetes medication and it curbs their appetite. And I literally have people coming in my office and all they can get down in a day is a Coke and a yogurt with some blueberries in it. And yeah, they're losing weight, but not in a good way. And then I personally worry about the long-term side effects of these medications. At our clinic, we're staying away from them, but you are going to have patients come in on them. And there are a lot of clinics that are incorporating them. So just something to think about. When you think about diets, you want to know, are you going to be adequately nourished? Well, obviously, I have patients coming in who are taking those from other clinics and they are not adequately nourished. Any diet that prescribes real low calories probably isn't going to be great for you. And the second you stop eating it, you're going to gain all the weight back. And that's what I'm seeing in these patients. Things you want to ask yourself is this diet sustainable? Can you do it a week, 2 weeks, 2 months, forever? If you can't, then you're probably going to stop doing it and you'll eventually gain the weight back. Is the diet too restrictive? Are you cutting out a whole food group? Are you going to feel deprived? If you are, your cravings are going to take over and you're going to binge eat. Are you able to live your life on this diet? And what I mean by that is, can you go out and eat with friends and stick to it? Can you occasionally cheat and have an ice cream or have a piece of pizza? If you have to permanently put your life on hold, the diet probably isn't going to work for you. For me, I like Mediterranean diet the best. My family is Italian, so it goes really well with me, but I like it because it has heart-healthy foods like fats, avocados, olive oils, nuts, fish at least twice a week, lots of beans, fruit, lots of green leafy vegetables, whole grains, and you can have a glass of wine, and you can have meat once or twice a week on it. It has a lot of health benefits too. It can lower your risk of chronic disease and cognitive decline. And if you limit your calories on it, then you're going to lose weight. All diets that you limit calories on, whether they are the Hershey bar diet or the cabbage soup diet or some other crazy fad cantaloupe diet, if you limit the amount of calories you take in to be less than what you're burning in a day, you're going to lose weight. But back to what I was saying before, is it sustainable? Is it healthy? Are you nourishing your body on it? If you're not, then it's not going to work long term. Another good diet I like is the DASH diet. It really emphasizes fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and low fat or non-dairy, limits saturated fats and cholesterol, and it does restrict calories, and you are going to lose weight, and you can improve your blood pressure on that one. Flexitarian diet is a very pro-plant diet, but it gives you the flexibility at Thanksgiving to have turkey if you want, or if you go to a cookout, have a burger. So that's a good one. And you want to eat lots of fruits, veggies, whole grains, plant proteins. Paleo diet is nearly impossible to stick to long term. It's a very strict adherence to foods that would have been hunted and gathered, like meats, nuts, seeds, fruits, vegetables. It cuts out all processed food. It eliminates dairy, grain, beans, and legumes. And it has a long list of what you're not allowed to do, which makes it hard to maintain. It also puts your body in ketosis with no carbs to burn off the energy. That's how you start to lose the stored fat. But it also puts your body in a state of crisis, and living in a state of crisis is not something you can do long term. Plus, a lot of patients have side effects like headache, constipation, muscle soreness, and fatigue. So basically, if you want something that's going to give you lasting results, you want to look for a lifelong approach to healthy eating and avoid dieting, which is only a temporary solution. Avoid diets that are too restrictive and eliminate vitamins, minerals, and nutrients. Strive to achieve a nutritionally balanced diet with healthy food from each food group, and achieve a healthy weight with calorie restrictions and routine exercise. Plant-based diets, in my opinion, are best for health and longevity, and make fruits, vegetables, and whole grains your diet mainstay. I hope this helps, because definitely navigating the diet world is a lot. So anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and I hope you remember to figure out how many calories you need a day, and then I hope that you include lots of fruits and veggies and lean proteins in that calorie restriction to drop the weight. Thanks, and I hope you enjoyed the podcast.
And now for the moment everyone has been waiting for, starring this month's experts.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Chiropractic Connection. I am your host, Dr. Amber Jackson, and today I have with me Dr. Ed Cordovado. We are going to get into the conversation of multidisciplinary practices, which I know is kind of an interesting subject. Some people are doing it and some are not. So I brought in with me the expert today so we can dispel some myths, kind of talk about what it looks like, and have a full-on conversation about it. So sit back, relax, and let's get into it. Dr. Ed.
Hello.
Thanks for joining me today.
My pleasure.
I'm so excited to have you. And thank you for inviting me to your office. It's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Before we get started, I just want you to tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you come from, and how you got to this point in your life or your career.
That's a long conversation. But the short version of it is I'm a 92 graduate of Life University, so I've been in practice 31 years this year. I have been involved with multidiscipline practices for the most part of my career.
Okay.
I come from a small farming town in Michigan, did a bunch of sports, been involved with chiropractic. I've been adjusted since I was 7.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, the great John Hoffman was my chiropractor. My mom was working in his clinic, and so I've got involved with the whole Michigan group for years.
That's a big group.
It's a big group.
Yes, it
yes. So I've been down here ever since I graduated.
Okay.
Started out in Sparling Clinic, which is now Cornerstone,
Mm-hmm.
and I was there for 17 years.
Okay.
I was one of the owners of that clinic, and then I got the family bug where we had to spend more time with family.
Yeah.
And this is so much closer to my home. That's why I've been here for the last 14 years.
Okay, I love that. So what gave you the idea? So I know I'm looking around your clinic. Obviously, this is not just chiropractic, right? So how did you know that you wanted to grow into something that was multidisciplinary like this? Was this something you discovered in school, or is it kind of just a knowing that you had?
Well, I think, just probably from doing a lot of sports growing up and that type of thing, that the team is always better than the individual.
Mm-hmm.
And, chiropractic is great. And I'm a principal chiropractor, but there are limits to what happens with our care.
Mm-hmm.
And there are limits that happens with a patient's body. It can become overwhelmed.
Right.
So if you can't beat them, hire them.
Yeah. Well,
right.
That's a good, absolutely.
Yeah. So, I was involved with a larger PI clinic when I was down at Sparling.
Okay.
And we had a lot of acute patients coming in, and we would lose them because they would have these, a tremendous amount of pain from acute new injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And down in that area, Southwest Atlanta, we were getting a lot of overflow from Grady.
Okay.
So we had people that came in with some very serious injuries.
Right.
Not just concussions, but even some of them had broken bones and other things because we were just a clinic in the area.
Right. Okay.
So we put in a medical clinic there,
Okay.
which is a little more full scope than the one I have currently here. But we were helping them with their pain, because if a patient's not sleeping, they're not healing.
Right.
So that's what we were trying to do, is make them more comfortable. But the whole time we were doing therapies, we were adjusting them. We're doing exams and x-rays and everything with them.
Yeah.
So I realized that there was, the team approach was better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not anything against people who are out there, in a chiropractic only clinic, and they're helping a lot of folks.
Right.
But I wanted to get at some people that we would never see.
Right. Yeah.
I think that people, when they've got a pain level of a 7 or an 8 or higher, they're not going to think about coming to this. They're thinking about urgent care. They're thinking about emergency rooms. But now with the multidiscipline type of clinic, you're getting to those people.
Right.
They're coming to see you, and they're depending upon you to do what they can for them.
You make a great point, because I think what some maybe docs don't realize is, even if they are personal injury, that they may be seeing you, but you can almost bet your bottom dollar they're seeing somebody else too to help manage that pain, right? I see a lot of docs that do have to refer out for pain management or still have to send to an ortho. So like you said, there's limitations to matter, and our scope is only but so big. So we can't do everything.
Right.
So
we shouldn't.
Right, exactly, because that's not what we went to school for.
Right.
So having the ability to have a clinic that has a one-stop shop, in the sense, is really helpful, especially for someone who's played sports. I played a lot of sports. I've had surgeries. I think when I had a surgery, I might have seen 2 or 3 different docs between PT and the ortho, a chiropractor. Like it just was a lot of moving parts, right? And so I think about my poor single, well, she wasn't poor, but my single mother who had to take me to all these things while working a full-time corporate job, right? It would have been really nice for her to be able to take me to one place, and I could get all of my treatment done there. And the staff and the doctors were a team working together.
Sure.
So I love that you do that. So tell me a little bit more about what you have going on here in terms of the multidisciplinary.
Yeah. So, we're primarily a chiropractic clinic, but some of our people are falling into chiropractic.
Okay.
We have exercise rehab here.
Okay.
So we have an athletic trainer here that we know exercise works. There's no debate on that.
Right.
And we can adjust them, but if we're not having them do the proper lifestyle management with exercise, stretching, whatever, they're going to fail long term. And then there's some people that their body has become overwhelmed, where they have things like a tear in the rotator cuff. They've got worn cartilage or cracked cartilage in a knee. They've done all these things, and they're trying to avoid surgery.
Right.
And one of the reasons I got into chiropractic is to help people avoid drugs and surgery if I can.
Yeah.
So through doing some of the regenerative medicine, the PRP injections, the stem cell, trigger point stuff, lasers, those types of things, we have been able to help people avoid surgery.
I love that.
On a greater scale. You know, you talked earlier about your disc injuries, decompression therapy. But sometimes decompression therapy, you can't stretch them because their muscles are so tight.
Right.
So having them do a trigger point injection, you know, loosen those muscles up, and then you can get to what you need to get to.
Right.
And you're still helping the recuperative powers of the body.
Yes.
They're not on opioids, right? We're keeping them off opioids and everything else. And they're getting better, getting good results.
Yeah. And they're feeling good. They're leaving the clinic feeling like, some relief, right?
Yeah.
And with a clear mind, because they're not having to take opioids to feel better or to sleep at night. So.
And the beautiful thing about that is we don't advertise. We don't have to.
Yeah.
You know, our patients are saying other good things about us. I mean, we're active in the community.
Right.
But we're not paying for big billboards and all these other ads and that type of thing.
Yeah.
Because we don't need to. People are coming because they're getting good results with us.
Yeah. Speaking of being active in the community, you're quite active in the community.
Goodness.
Yes. So can you tell me a little bit tell our listeners some of the things that you currently are active in?
Well, I mean, my church is around the corner from here, so that certainly is a community that I've been active in for the last 30 years. But I'm the current scoutmaster for a Boy Scout troop, which is where my kids went to grade school.
Yeah.
And my kids aren't even in the troop anymore, but here I am still running the troop. I'm active in the American Chiropractic Association. I was real active in the GCA, you know, former president and all that stuff.
Right.
But I'm currently the Georgia delegate for the American Chiropractic Association.
And we thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I've had the good pleasure, and most times, of meeting with all of our congressmen and both senators.
Yeah.
Pushing through things like our Medicare scope of practice bill, working with the VA hospital, and some more of these federal things that affect us.
You've done some pretty cool things with the VA hospital.
Yeah, the VA hospital has been a big win for chiropractic.
Yeah.
So way back when Ronald Reagan was president, he signed into law that chiropractors should be allowed into the military and in the VA hospitals. And he even specifically put in that it was a 22-to-1 ratio of medical doctors to chiropractors in there.
Did not know that.
Yes. And
Did you guys know that? I didn't know that.
And the DOD has been studying it.
Right.
Ever since Reagan was in president.
Okay.
Yeah, just a few years. But the cool thing is that it's trickled into on bases. So a lot of bases have chiropractors on staff there now. The challenge is once they get done with the military, you know, and they do their 4, 10, 20, whatever years they do, there was no care for them after that.
Right.
So I've been involved with something called a community choice, which is when the VA program becomes overwhelmed.
Okay.
They have 30 days to either see the patient or refer.
Okay.
So I've been involved with that program. We've been seeing a lot of patients that are vets. But the good thing is that the Veterans Administration now has a full-blown chiropractic residency program, the first of its kind.
That's amazing.
It is, and there are over 300 chiropractors now in the VA hospitals as employees.
Wow.
And one of the things that pushed us in that direction, or pushed the DOD in that direction, is the opioid crisis.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, most of those people, they've got musculoskeletal problems.
Right.
And we're a great non-surgical, you know, help for that. And versus just, you know, come here, take this med and keep going. And next thing you know, they're taking us stronger and stronger.
Right.
And you know the road. It's a slippery slide.
Absolutely.
And, you know, and we're a great alternative to that.
That is absolutely amazing. I'm sure the service that it provides for the veterans is, I don't even have the words for it, because they really need that. And I feel like they get lost, like you say, after they leave the military. The fact that we can give them some care, because these guys are out here, and these men and women are suffering some pretty severe injuries.
Yep.
I mean, even if they maybe never take a tour, just I've seen what basic training looks like. It's hard on the body.
Yep.
So having the ability to get adjusted and be under care, that's phenomenal.
Yeah. I also have some selfish reasons for it. My dad is a vet.
Okay.
You know, and then my son is currently in the military.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, to make sure that, you know, my dad's taken care of, and or my son when he gets out,
yeah,
that he has care that he needs.
That's amazing.
Yeah, wherever he's at.
That is awesome. So if you're a new grad and you're interested in that, how do you go about becoming part of the program, the residency?
Yeah, so you can type into basically jobs.gov.
Yeah. Okay.
And you can go in that. Not all VA hospitals have a full residency program yet.
Okay.
But the demand is huge.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, it's kind of like throwing a zebra in a horse race, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've had all of their programs, and it really is helping us focus on kind of the team approach, which has been, I've all been all about team approach from day one.
Right.
But how does a chiropractor fit into a traditional allopathic healthcare system?
Right.
And the answer is staying in their lane.
Mm-hmm.
We do very good with spinal care.
Yeah.
Remember, we hung our hat on that.
Yes.
And we do great with extremities. And those people going through that program there, many of them have exactly those programs.
Right.
And they're going to be playing with the physiatrists and the pain
Mm-hmm.
management people. They're going to be in the same clinic as the PT department athletic trainers.
Okay.
And we all do different stuff.
Yeah.
And if you stay in your lane and you're part of that team approach, like I don't have to say, oh, I'm going to give you an exercise program. I send people downstairs.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, I have confidence in the person that we hired, documenting what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something more that we need to do with them? Whether that be a trigger point injection,
Mm-hmm.
because they've got tremendous spasm in the area and they're not holding their adjustments,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's just pulling the darn thing back out of place.
Right.
Or, do we suspect a tear, right? So we'll order an MRI on whatever area is, relevant for that
Mm-hmm.
patient. We'll see, okay, yeah, we've got a tear in one of the rotator cuff muscles.
Mm-hmm.
It's not avulsed, we're ripped off the bone.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we fix that?
Right.
You can do exercise and that type of thing to
Right.
improve circulation, or we can do a PRP injection in
Right.
there.
Ooh,
And
PRPs.
yeah,
We're
we'll do
gonna get
it,
into this.
and we'll do it right into where the MRI says the tear is.
So you brought up PRPs.
Yes.
Tell me more about it.
So platelet-rich plasma.
Yep.
So right now in your body, you've got 6 or 7% healing growth factor, if you will,
Okay.
kind of floating around there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's dependent upon circulation in an area.
Okay.
So if we've got a tear in an area, you've got the tissue pulled apart, the vascular supply or the nutrition getting to that area is going to be limited.
Right.
Okay. So, or if we've got a crack, say in cartilage,
Mm-hmm.
well, cartilage is avascular.
It sure is.
Right. So how do you get nutrients to an area to heal it?
Right. That doesn't have a blood supply.
Right.
Right.
I mean, that's, you're talking.
That interstitial fluid, but
right.
not blood.
Right.
Right.
And so you've got this passive, not active blood supply to it.
Right.
So what we do is we take some of your blood and we centrifuge it down, concentrate the layer of platelets,
Okay.
draw that out. And when we do that, we're putting the platelet level, the nutrition level, if you will, from 7-8% to
Mm-hmm.
kind of the mid 90%.
So it's like a concentrate.
Yep, that's exactly
basically.
right. And we're injecting it right into the area that doesn't have the nutritional supply that it needs to. And it facilitates healing.
Yeah. How many treatments does that take?
Depends on the person, but usually it's 1 every 2 weeks for 3 times.
Okay.
So we know like the average healing time for muscles strains is 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's in optimal conditions. So that's about what the healing time is with a muscle tear.
Yeah.
But the fun thing is if you add the adjustments to that,
Yeah.
where you're fixing an impingement in the shoulder, or you're fixing the mechanics of that area to get to the underlying etiology of it, and then you put the healing on top of it, it'll stay better
Yeah.
versus just keep dealing with it year after year after year.
Right. Exactly. Chronic issue that keeps coming back for
Yep.
patients that are 50, 60, 70 years old and have this issue because they did something stupid when they were 20 and it flares up every 5 to 6, 7 years.
Yep.
So now we can truly fix the problem.
Yep. And then the next level is stem cell,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if I've got a 70-year-old with a bum knee,
Yeah.
the cartilage is worn, not torn. It's just wearing out.
Yeah.
Well, there are a lot of things that the umbilical stem cells can do, and one of them is grow connective tissue.
Mm-hmm.
And we're averaging 1 to 3 millimeters of growth of cartilage in 90 days.
Wow.
And that's the difference between I need a knee replacement or maybe I can kick this can down the road a little further.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if they've got other underlying health conditions where
Sure.
they might not be able to do that. So how do you decide who gets a PRP and who gets a stem cell?
So if it's worn and we need to grow more tissue,
Mm-hmm.
that's typically going to go more towards the stem cell world.
Okay.
If it's cracked or torn and not
PRP.
like completely ripped off, right?
Right.
Then PRP is a more economical.
Yeah. You put them
What
into
about-
disc too?
No.
You don't put them in the disc?
No.
Okay.
So there's very few things that they found that you can put into a disc that will actually help the disc.
Okay.
There was a new study that just came out last year on a new compound called hydrogel.
Okay.
In hydrogel, they did 20 people. It was a small study. 20 people that had chronic pain of a 7 or 8 at least due to degenerative disc disease.
Okay.
Now, in past, anything they put in there, including saline, accelerated the degenerative changes.
Mm.
So what they do is they're putting the hydrogel in,
Yeah.
and of these 20 patients, 100% of them had reductions down to 2 to 0
Wow.
after, just like an initial injection period.
Yeah.
So it was really cool.
That is very cool.
So the cool thing about stem cell, going back to the regenerative stuff,
Mm-hmm.
is we don't have to inject it into the disc.
Okay.
Stem cells do a couple of things. They grow connective tissue, at least the umbilical ones do. They're immune modulating, and they're attracted to inflammation, so they're anti-inflammatory in nature.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you've got an area like a hot disc,
Yeah.
or the facets are all angry or whatever, there's a lot of inflammation in there.
Yes.
So when we do the injections in that area, we do them in the paraspinal musculature.
Okay.
So we don't have to go anywhere around the nerve roots or anything like that.
Yeah.
And now cells will just migrate into the area,
Oh, I love that.
which is another cool thing. We have to have them off of anti-inflammatories to do it.
Okay. Right.
We want it angry
Yeah. Right.
because that's how in nature they're attracted, and our normal stem cells are done.
Right.
Is you have, soft tissue injury, inflammatory response. It's like going, hey, red flag, need help over here.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that by the time we're 13 years old, 90% of our stem cells are used up by growth.
Yeah.
So when you're born, 1 in every 10,000 is a stem cell, blood cells.
Right.
And then by the time you're 13, it's 1 in every 100,000. And by the time you get to 80, it's 1 in 2 million.
Wow. Okay.
That's why healing is so much slower.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from the hormone factors, growth hormone. And
Absolutely right. Yeah. That's why my kid can fall down and do something, and 2 days later he's like,
Oh, he's good.
magically healed. Like,
Yeah, he's good as
Mom, I
new.
need all the things. And then 2
Yeah.
days later, I'm like, how's your knee? How's your ankle? I was like, what?
He's good.
He's forgotten about it.
Yeah.
For that exact reason.
Yeah, exactly.
So are you okay? So the PRPs, the stem cells. I think you mentioned laser, right? Well, how do you like the laser? What do you think about the laser?
Well, laser has its place.
Mm-hmm.
Not to get too much into the cell biology of how it works. I mean, I think a lot of people in practice that use them know
Yeah.
that it produces ATP,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's a couple different wavelengths that cause the mitochondria to produce ATP, the
Mhm.
universal currency of the body. And you can rejuvenate tissue, you can increase circulation, all those things using laser.
Yeah.
And it does really good. I use it for a lot of the tendinitises and those types of things.
Yeah.
But we also do a lot of soft tissue manipulation, things like trigger point stuff, Graston.
Yeah.
We do kinesio taping. We do a little bit of everything to help
I love that.
our athletes.
Yeah. So the office, is it primarily sports, wellness, personal injury, mix of everything?
It's a mix.
Okay.
Yeah, about the only thing we don't do is workers' comp.
Okay.
And I kind of categorically stay away from it
Mm-hmm.
because I'm working for the patient. I'm not working for an insurance company.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a whole nother
It's a whole other
ballgame.
avenue of revenue
Yes. There you go.
that I am not willing to deal with the headaches. My loyalty is to my patients, right?
Yeah.
Not to an insurance company.
Okay. So how many docs do you have in here with you?
So we have 3 docs, Dr. Michael Jerry and Dr. Patrick Salarulo, who founded the place
Okay.
back in '85.
Oh, okay. So you came in and
I joined 14 years ago.
gotcha.
Yep. And I took kind of what we had built with, now Cornerstone, Sparlin, which was the medical clinic. And then I came to Dr. Pat and I'm like, hey, I want to build this. he's like, let's do it.
Love that.
Yeah, it was as simple as that.
Yeah.
Because it was straight chiropractic before, and then we added the rehab area,
Okay.
to do stretch strengthening, whatever,
Right.
and give people some homework.
Yeah.
And I find people do better with care if they're involved.
Yes, absolutely.
You know,
If they're just coming and getting adjusted and then that's it, we're missing the mark.
I agree. Education's a huge part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why down in the room here, there's a big screen that we do lectures on various topics.
Okay.
The room we're in, we can do smaller, more focused topics on things. Like if we want to talk about the nutrition of diabetes.
Yeah.
They don't want to be in a room with everybody else. They want to be in people that have their problem.
Right.
So we can do these smaller group lectures.
Oh, I love that. How often do you do that?
Well, when they're needed.
Okay.
I mean, we unfortunately weren't doing much during COVID.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
But we were doing them at least once a month.
Okay. So you identify a group of patients that have kind of similar issues and say, hey, we're going to
Yep.
create something.
If you're interested, we're going to be doing a talk about functional medicine of thyroid disease. Or if you want to detox.
Yeah.
Of course, a big hot topic with people is weight loss.
Yes.
Right? There's all these things, and there's I figure everybody who can write a book writes a diet book, right?
Yeah.
So what's the myth versus the truth with a lot of it? What's sustainable, what's not?
Yeah.
You can starve yourself and lose a bunch of weight, but that's not sustainable.
No, it's not, and
Right.
not healthy.
No, right.
Not how you should do it.
Right.
For
Right.
sure. So, do you take peak students or interns?
I used to.
Okay.
So I was with the Peak program. Matter of fact, I helped found the Peak program.
Really?
Yeah, with Dr. Markham.
Very cool.
Yeah, so
Thank
we
you.
were
It's a great program.
Thank you. And it was the first program of its kind in the country.
Yeah.
Dr. Markham actually came to me and said, "Hey, what do you think?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
You absolutely need to do this."
Yeah.
Right.
So before that, there was.
Graduated. Good luck to you.
Oh.
Maybe you had a exam doc job or something
Right.
like that. But
So
there,
unless if you weren't seeking it out,
right,
then it wasn't happening.
Yep.
Okay.
Right. So the premise of the Peak program was to give you more hands-on experience so that when you did go out into practice, you had more confidence and ability to help whoever walked in your door.
Right. Okay.
So that program, I was with that up until about 8 years ago, I guess. And that's when I started with Morehouse.
Yeah.
And I had the chiropractic students, the seniors, 12th through 14th quarter, and the fourth year med students here at the same time. And it was fun to have the interaction between the two groups, just to figure out that you guys do the same thing. I mean, they have a part one, they have a step one.
Yeah.
This part two, step two. They have an OSCE exam, CS. I have an OSCE exam. I mean, there was all these exams, and it was the same darn stuff we were being tested on.
Wow.
Right? Now, once you got more into the chiropractic aspect of it, they weren't doing that. They were doing their thing with meds or whatever, case management. But it was fun to watch the interaction. I'd sit them down and let them interact with each other.
Yeah.
They could commiserate on their professors, whatever. But it became overwhelming to me to do both. So I decided that I could be best served through working with Morehouse.
So how did you get involved with Morehouse? Because that's very untraditional for us. Like, I don't know any doc you're teaching there also, right?
Yes.
So I don't know any chiropractor that's teaching or adjunct or on staff at any medical school.
There's a couple that are happening now.
Okay.
But at the time, Morehouse approached me.
Okay.
And how they did was there were a few doctors that I was taking care of
Okay.
for various things.
Yeah.
And Emory had started an integrative program. And their program was basically more clinical, but it was more academic in nature.
Okay.
They had different people rotate in, and they were doing PowerPoints based on this profession, that profession, whatever. And it was a good overall kind of Cliff Notes education of everything that's out there.
Right.
Which is good. It's better exposure than no exposure.
Right. Absolutely.
So when they asked me to do that, I said, listen, I could do a PowerPoint just like anybody else, right? I said, but if you want to watch their eyes glaze over, that'll happen. I said, but if you really want them part of the education program, you really want them to learn it, you got to put me on the tour. So they said, well, we could have everybody just kind of come in and do a day with you. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I said, if you really want to see what I do, They have to spend time with me because honestly, I could line up my favorite patients on one day and they could come in and everybody could say how great I am and it would be awesome.
Right.
And that would totally not be the truth.
Yeah, that's not realistic.
Right.
Right.
They needed to see my strength. They needed to see my weaknesses. What do we do good? What the research says we do well with. What the research is not in our favor with.
Right.
And we don't like to talk about that.
Right. Yeah.
But the reality is there are things that come in and I'm like, you need to be out of here.
Yeah.
And that's what our board testing is about. It's all about safety.
Right.
You know, who stays, who goes.
Yeah, that's on part 4 boards. Like they ask you, what is the follow-up? Who do you refer to? Right?
Exactly.
Yes.
So what they do is they hired me in the Department of Family Medicine.
Okay.
So I'm an assistant professor in family medicine, which means the 4th year med students come through and they rotate with me.
Gotcha.
Okay, so I'll have 2 or 3 here at a time.
Okay.
And then when they're out of school during the summers, I have the 3rd year residents in family medicine that rotate with me.
Oh, nice.
So there are, you know, I'm sharing them. They're rotating with Grady or wherever they're rotating with.
Yeah.
Or Emory or whoever. But they're Morehouse students.
Yeah.
And I like being on the ground floor with the students a little bit more than the residents.
Okay.
And the residents are way better clinically because they've already got a lot more under their belt.
Right.
But their protocols are already pretty much set.
Yes.
So they're in that hospital environment. They're learning their protocols. They're getting ready to take their boards, whatever specialty they're in. And many of them said to me, I wished I would have had this earlier because I would have been thinking, oh, how can I implement this into whatever I'm doing with my patients versus I've got this and, oh, I can add this and it's more of an afterthought.
Yes, yes.
Right?
As we tend to be, unfortunately.
We are.
Yeah.
We are. I mean, but, you know, practice the way you want to practice. But the reality is that, you know, back to the original conversation, if you want people that are sick and you've got healthcare providers referring people to you, that's the best thing right there. Because a family practitioner is either going to give you some sort of pain med, or they're going to just bind you off to PT if you're not surgical.
Right.
And if you're non-surgical, orthopedic offices can't get you out of their clinic fast enough.
Exactly, because you do nothing for them. They will cut. They're surgeons.
Right. Their best time is doing what they're trained to do. And they're great at it.
Yeah.
But if you're non-surgical, they're like, well, you should just go to PT or, in our case, a chiropractor.
Right.
Go get this dealt with.
Yeah.
So I get referrals from orthos and neuros all the time.
So what do you think is the biggest aha that these med students are taking away from their time with you?
Oh, this is fun. So I do a lot of muscle testing.
Okay.
Because I think my background's more AK.
I'm sure. I already know where you're going with this. I know their mind is like, what? Because they're not learning
when they first come in, they're seeing me do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, the muscle's weak, the muscle's strong, whatever, right? I teach them how to do basic muscle testing.
Okay.
So they're doing the pre-test, I'm doing the adjustment, they're doing the post-test. It doesn't get any cleaner than that.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Because I could make it look weak or I could make it look strong.
Right.
But if they're doing it and they're a little bit skeptical, it's fantastic.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's their aha moment right there. They're like, oh, wow, how the heck did that happen?
Yeah.
You know, well, we did this and this and this, and I explained the neurology to them.
I was about to say, it's the nervous system.
Right. That's really the miracle of what we do anyway, right? Is the body and the nervous system.
Exactly. That's pretty cool.
It's fun for me.
Yeah, I'm sure. To see, especially to see their eyes light up and have that moment of like, whoa, this is chiropractic. This is not what I thought chiropractic was. And I think that is absolutely incredible that you are opening the door to them so they can get a peek behind our curtain. Because a lot of times docs, they don't want to bridge the gap. They don't want to do the multidisciplinary. I mean, if you offer them a chiro intern versus a med intern, of course, they'd probably pick the chiro intern, right? But this is an opportunity to teach them something. So now they're better doctors.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and I think, you know, the whole them not be willing to refer to us, you know, put yourself in their shoes for a moment. So let's say that I've been trained this way. I've done 8 years of school or
Mhm.
however long they're at, right, with their education process. And if I care about you as a patient,
Mhm.
am I going to send you out for a treatment that I have no exposure to?
No, not at all. Why would I do
Absolutely
that?
not.
Right. I
Right.
can't speak to it.
Right.
I don't know what it is.
Right.
I've heard about it.
Right.
I've not experienced it.
That's exactly right.
So
that's what I'm doing with them. I'm giving them an exposure to it. And every single student coming through, they don't have to, but if they'd like to, I'm adjusting them. So they've been through it. They see what's going on with
right.
it. And then when they get out in the real world, so to speak,
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, I had whatever. And, chiropractic helped me too on that.
Right. Right.
Right. So they're getting a firsthand exposure as to what we do, not just reading some research paper that says we're good for low back pain.
Yeah, which is
And we are good for that.
yeah.
But we're so much more than that.
Exactly. We're not just that.
Yeah. So the educational point I try to get to them is that, you do your thing, we do our thing, but it's not alternative.
Right.
We have parallel tracks.
Exactly.
We can co-manage patients very, very effectively
Yeah.
if communication is open.
That is incredible. Would you expand your reach to other medical institutions in Georgia?
I could. Right now I got my hands full with
I was
what I'm
about to
doing.
say you're a little busy, but
Yeah.
you've got the space for it. I think.
Yeah, and
right?
I would be happy to do that. I'd be happy with Medical College of Georgia or Emory or
Yeah.
or PCOM, which is just not too far from here. The osteopath
Yeah.
school.
I think it would be super cool if that was part of all med schools.
It should be, and I know there's many people in our profession that are concerned about, oh my gosh, once the medical doctors learn how to adjust, we'll never have any patients. And the reality is that they got so many other things
Yeah.
to worry about.
Yeah. That's not the piece that they want to do.
No, they've got their hands full with
Right.
what they do, and they're great at what they do.
Exactly.
We help other things that they're not as effective with.
Right.
So
Oh, that's incredible. That's like that just gives me such a sense of relief to know that we have somebody out here teaching the med students, these especially the new ones that are coming up, these just a little bit about our world, getting them a chance to kind of see what we do. So I applaud you for that.
thank you.
Thank you for being bold enough to do that. I don't think a lot of docs would do that. It probably piss a few people off when you decide to do it.
I did. I did.
That's all right.
Yeah, I remember when I was GCA president, I had all kinds of rumors circulating about me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, really?
You're playing for the other team.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm a chiropractor. That's all I do.
Yeah.
We
We can play nice in the sandbox with other
Sure.
providers.
Absolutely.
And we should be building the sandcastle with them.
For the sake of our patients.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's the goal, is patient care.
Yep.
So I think we're better doctors when we do co-manage with, like I said earlier, they're seeing them anyways.
Yep.
And they're going to see them regardless.
Sure.
You can tell them, don't see them, or I can take care of this. And they're going to say, okay. And guess what? They may walk out the door and still make a phone call to primary care or their internal medicine or ortho or pain management with or without our,
Yep.
consent. So if we can do it and then refer them to people that we have, like I really wish more docs would keep a few MDs in their back pocket, because at least if you don't want to take care of it, send them to somebody who will, right?
Right.
So I just don't think we're doing that enough.
I agree.
So
It's all about relationship building.
yeah, absolutely.
This is Chiro Tea, where we spill all the latest gossip in chiropractic.
I love that. So what's the plan for the future?
So continue what I'm doing.
Okay.
I really have been spending a lot of my effort toward the ACA's efforts for full scope Medicare.
Okay.
So if you're not familiar with the bill,
Yeah, can you tell us more about it?
sure. We've had it in for 3 congressional sessions now.
Okay.
Last session, which was the 3rd term, we're just starting kind of the 4th one. We got up to 166 co-signers on the bill
Okay.
in the House, and we had just introduced it, so it was only like 9 in the Senate.
Okay.
We're already off to a great start already. We're ahead of where we were. I really feel like it's going to have enough momentum to get through. And here's the bill. All of us have our scope of practice in Georgia.
Right.
However, the scope of practice for Medicare patients has not been updated since 1972. So when you turn 65 years old, I can no longer order CTs, MRIs, whatever, X-rays, any of that on you.
Therapies.
None of it, which is ridiculous.
It absolutely is. And honestly, that's a population who really needs.
There's no doubt. If you're not doing radiographs and things on that elder population, the risk, because let's face it, the older we are, the more time stuff's going to happen.
Exactly.
So here's the argument I use with our legislators is it is an access to care bill. Okay, so Medicare patient comes through the door, and let's say they need a set of X-rays. Medicare won't pay for it. Well, you got to go to your family doctor. You got to go to your ortho. You got to go to your neuro. You got to go to whoever to get that done. So, okay, they got to go there and get it. Okay, or they got to pay out of pocket. Most people don't want to do that.
Right.
I can make that argument for them, and it's more convenient. So let's say they go to the orthopedic doctor. They're going to get a whole bunch more X-rays. The X-rays at an orthopedic office, I guarantee you, are more expensive to us. Okay. Plus, they're going to go down the ortho PT world.
Yeah.
And the stats are this: that if you go to an orthopedic surgeon first, the likelihood of having surgery on that area is higher than if you go to a chiropractor.
Yes.
So, access to care. By not allowing you to pay for an exam, not paying for X-rays, not paying for therapies, you are denying people care and access to chiropractic.
Right. Absolutely. Because why would you allow them to go to another provider and receive the same thing that we can do for our patients? That it makes absolutely no sense to me.
Exactly.
Like that's, and it's in our scope. So we can do it.
Right.
But you're saying that we can't do, like, no, you can't do it with these patients.
Right.
And that's absolutely ludicrous.
No doubt. And the legislators, they see this. So they'll look at something and they'll be like, oh, why they can't do that? I'm like, no. You know why they can't do, I can't do an MRI on a senior citizen? How many MRIs were around 72? None. Right? We have a laundry list of what we can do.
Right.
And that stuff was not there as a diagnostic.
Wow.
So that's why it needs to be updated. Every profession is updating.
Yeah.
New tests come out, new standards of care come out.
Right.
We need to be part of that whole thing. But you know what? Medicare, if you're going to hold me accountable for it, then you better pay for the diagnostic that I'm accountable for.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's all about patient-centered care, period.
Right. So what can we do? What do you need us to do to help?
So talk to your legislator.
Okay.
You know, and we talked about if you're not political, then you're not probably doing what you need to do
right.
for the profession.
Yeah.
If you have a relationship with a senator, representative, you know, at the federal level, then send them an email.
Okay.
If you have a relationship with them, send me an email, and I will be happy to travel and meet that individual. Happy to do it.
Good to know. I got somebody. I don't have a senator in my pocket, but I have a family member who is a commissioner.
Sweet.
And he's got the senators.
Perfect.
So we can talk offline.
Yeah. No. But really, again, it's relationships.
Yeah.
You know, and you're talking about constituents.
Yeah.
And their constituents absolutely need the care. So, you know, it's all about access to care. It's not about making more money. It's not about expanding our scope.
Right.
Because we're not asking to do anything that our state law doesn't already allow us to do.
Exactly. We're just asking to be able to do it with the patients that
really need it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
They're the ones that need it so bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Golly.
So again, it's not a scope change bill.
Right.
And I want to stress that it is an access to care bill. Okay. You know, to help that population, that elder population that really needs us.
Yeah. Okay. Well, definitely we'll make sure you guys heard it here. So you heard what Dr. Ed said, and this is serious. So that's why I'm going to look at you and talk to you about this, because we need that. And you guys are seeing Medicare patients. I know that I'm seeing them. They're walking into our offices all the time. It is frustrating that we can't take care of them the way that we want to. I think sometimes we do things for them that Medicare won't even pay for just because we know the patients need it, but it's not the right thing for the patient. So make sure that if you do have a connection with your legislator, a commissioner, a senator, whatever that is, please make sure to send that over to Dr. Ed. Dr. Ed, how can they reach you?
Sure, you can reach me on my email, which is Cordovado, ECORDOVADO @gmail.com. Or you're welcome to call me on my cell phone, which is 678-480-4837. Send me a text, send me a call, and I am happy to communicate with you. Like I said, I'm willing to go anywhere across the state to make sure we happen. We do go up to 1 to 2 times a year. We go up to DC to meet them in their offices, but if we can meet them on their home turf, that's a better place to spend more time with them.
So GCA members, you heard that we got this lien law passed. I think we can do the same thing with this Medicare bill.
Absolutely.
It's doable, right? We've shown the strength of our power and our voice. If you're not being political, if you're not doing the things, if you're not advocating for our profession, then what are you doing? I understand you're taking care of patients, so I don't want to make anyone upset about that. But it is important that as a profession, we stick together in that sense. When you look at some of the other professions, they have that solidarity. We're very disjointed, right? So there's some growth that we have to do. So if you're listening to this and you are a GCA member, ask yourself if your friend that you're having lunch with tomorrow, if they're a GCA member, are they an ACA member? Are they fighting for our rights as chiropractors to make sure that we're doing the best thing for our patients? That's what we ask of you. And that's the hope of these podcast meetings with these docs, is that you guys understand what we're doing out here in the community and how we're serving you, the profession, and the docs that are in the field. So thank you so much for shining a light on that.
My pleasure.
I really appreciate that. So before we leave, I have one more question, because you do a lot of things. So what do you do for fun?
Well, I'm still involved with scouting. I mean, I'm camping on, hiking and all that kind of stuff. I still do my martial arts. I've been doing that for 4
What do you do?
Something called ninjutsu.
What's ninjutsu?
Ninja. It's a ninja, essentially. Ninjutsu.
Oh, ninjutsu.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said ninja too.
No.
I was like, I never heard of ninja.
Yeah. So it's, the fancy name for it is Togakure Bujinkan Ninpo.
Okay.
But ninjutsu is the short version of it.
Gotcha.
I've been doing that for years.
Nice.
So I still train doing that. It's fun for
that.
me. And then I like to go out hiking and stuff.
So you're in nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love being outdoors and doing stuff.
How old are your kids now?
Oldest one's 23, married and in the military.
Okay.
And then my youngest one is 19, and he's going into his junior year at Georgia Tech.
Oh, lovely. What's he studying?
Chemistry.
Very cool. I love that. And that's Tech. Good for him.
Yep. He's doing well.
I love that. Well, Doc, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Pleasure's mine too.
Yes,
Truly.
I'm going to go get my tour, guys. So I'm going to check back in with you on the next Chiropractic Connection with the next doc. But Dr. Ed left you all of his information, everything you need. So rewind this audio or the video, depending on how you're listening or watching, to get all of the information about what we can do for the Medicare bill. If you have questions, I'm sure Dr. Ed, he's super busy, but leave him a voicemail. He'll get to you when he can.
Absolutely.
And, we thank you for listening. We thank you for having us at your office today. And I will see you all next time on the Chiropractic Connection. Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. This is great. Our executive producer is Dr. Amber Jackson. Production staff is GCA Executive Director Valerie Smith and Communications and Event Coordinator Sequoia Gonzalez. Our hosts are Dr. Deborah Little, Dr. Ben McDowell, and me, Dr. Amber Jackson. Special thanks to our podcast founder, Dr. Noelle Steinley, and Public Relations Chair, Dr. Naila Smith. We thank you for listening, and we want to hear from you. Please send us a comment or a question to sgonzalez@gachiro.org. You may be featured in a future episode. You can also find us on iTunes, Spotify, Audible, and the GCA website at gachiro.org. Please subscribe, rate, and review us. Don't forget to follow us on your social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are solely those of the participants and are not necessarily those of the Georgia Chiropractic Association or its employees.